people with the restless tendency can be very easily distracted. When that shows up in the job search, what it looks like is not completing the thing that you started. If you're job searching right now, you're in the right place. Welcome to Land Your Next Job, the show that helps you move from ghosting and rejection to interviews and offers. I'm Erika Parker-Price, a certified career coach with a background in tech who has spent nearly a decade helping professionals land roles at companies like Microsoft, Google, and mission-driven organizations. Each week, I share what's actually working in today's job market, from LinkedIn and networking to how AI is reshaping hiring. You'll get clear strategies and inspiration so you can run this marathon without burnout or guesswork. Follow the show and let's land your next job together. Hello and happy Monday. I am back to you on my traditional day for Land Your Next Job. We just happen to be in the midst of our positive intelligence sprint. Today, we are going to be focusing on the Restless Saboteur. If you haven't done the quiz yet, go ahead and visit my website at erikaparkerprice.com/PQ because each of these episodes is going to be so much valuable for you if you know where your tendencies are. I told you last week that I was going to do my top 3 this week. So now you know when I am having negative thinking, you know what direction it is that I tend to go. Let's talk about the strengths of somebody with the restless tendency, because we always like to start from the good piece. People that have this restless tendency are very high in energy. They are open, curious. They are spontaneous. They are the ones who will say yes when you suggest some off-the-wall idea, or maybe they are even the ones who are coming up with it. Their enthusiasm is contagious, and they are capable of great productivity across a breadth of activities and pursuits. Like all the other saboteurs, that all sounds great, and in moderate doses, it absolutely is. However, people with the restless tendency can also be very easily distracted. They like to stay busy, and that frequently has them bouncing from one activity to the next. When that shows up in the job search, what it looks like is not completing the thing that you started. So maybe you fall in love with a job, you decide you're going to apply for it, you do a ton of research on it, you start reaching out to connections, and then you find another even more cool job and you don't even submit the application for the one that you've already done the work on. There are people who cannot relate to this saboteur who would think they would never do that. That would be such a waste of energy. And yes, that's the truth. It can absolutely waste energy. In terms of the thoughts that are driving somebody with this restless tendency, it is really that thought that whatever that next cool, shiny object is that I have just discovered, it's got to be more exciting than where I am now. They don't tend to like negative feelings, and so they're looking to shift their attention to something that's more exciting. And it plays in with the judge a little bit as well, with the restless wondering why other people can't keep up with their pace. In terms of feelings that they experience, a lot of it is impatience. It is impatience with what is happening right now. It is honestly a challenge staying grounded. The whole idea of PQ reps can be challenging for somebody who is experiencing this restless saboteur. And there's a lot of FOMO. There's a lot of fear of missing out on what could possibly be a more cool experience than the one that they're having right now. In terms of the lie that the restless saboteur tells, it is that life is too short, it needs to be lived fully, and you don't want to miss out on any opportunity. Completely different from the victim saboteur that we talked about last Friday, the restless saboteur does not like to spend any time on negative feelings. So they're not particularly good at processing those negative feelings. They view it as a waste of time and just want to move on to the next thing. Now, of course, those are lies, because if you keep bouncing from one thing to the next, you're never going to accomplish anything. You're never going to fully feel anything because you're not allowing yourself to. And just like everybody else, I have to get in touch with those lies even when they sound very true to me. I mentioned earlier that PQ reps can be challenging for somebody who is in this restless space. And I will share that this is absolutely a place where I am challenged. I know cognitively, and I have the evidence to show the benefit of doing PQ reps and the benefit of doing mindfulness in even greater ways. I love the 10-second to 2-minute burst that a PQ rep gives you. I also have had some very powerful experiences with much longer segments of breathing work, mindfulness. And yet, I can fall out of those habits so quickly. So quite frankly, it is easy for me to feel like an imposter when I am out here saying this is the way to shift your negative thinking to the positive thinking, because I'm not a good person at staying committed to it. I always think there's maybe a different way that I could be doing this. It leads me to being a questioner. And for that reason, the coaching that I give to myself and that I give to other people who are experiencing this is to focus even more on those PQ reps. Figure out what works for you from a mindfulness perspective, whether it is just that focus on your breathing, for example. Figure out what works and keep doing it. Now, restless people, of course, aren't going to want to do the same thing over and over again. That's probably why I'm trying to give you 10 different versions of PQ reps as we go through all these episodes, because I'm a very restless person. PQ reps are harder and more important for people with the restless saboteur. They're critical for all of us. They are the way to get your mind to function at its absolute peak, to shift it over to that sage perspective where you can handle anything that's coming your way. But the restless need to focus on it even more. Who knows? Maybe that's why I am doing all of these podcasts. Maybe this is all just great practice for me. For our PQ rep today, I am going to share a practice that I have as a morning ritual. So you can follow along with this. But what I also want to do is to give you an idea as to how you might start incorporating PQ reps into your morning routine. You already know that it's breathing and your 5 senses that allow you to make that shift from the saboteur to the sage, from the negative to the positive. I have a routine that I go through every morning when I get myself a cup of tea that actually accesses all of those different senses. So just listen along here, and I want you to see if there's some way that you can incorporate this into your morning routine. And what it's doing is it's getting your mind to be still. Most of us, when we are going through things that we do on a regular basis, our mind is on autopilot. We are either reviewing something that happened in the past, or we are thinking ahead to something that is happening in the future. This is all about staying present, and the stronger your practice is in everyday life, the more you'll be able to access it when you really need it, which is in times of negative circumstances or challenges. So when I get my tea, I open the cupboard and I focus on the sensation of touch when I reach for that mug. I pay attention to how it feels. It usually feels cold. It's colder than the air around it. It's smooth. And I just take those 10 seconds to really pay attention to what it is. Maybe that particular mug has some blemishes on it. Maybe I can feel the engraving on it. Just paying attention to the sense of touch. I take it over to the hot water dispenser. And that's when I use my sense of hearing. I listen as the water pours in. It starts out slow. It sputters a little bit. There's all kinds of different sounds that I hear when that water is going into the cup. So just while it's filling up, that's what I do. I listen to it. I don't pay attention to anything else. I go to the drawer, I get the tea bag out, and I breathe in deeply that scent. I drink vanilla almond tea every day. This must be one area where I'm not actually restless. I actually do the same thing every day. I inhale and I take in that aroma, just noticing only what the smell is there. I drop it into the hot water and then I pour almond milk in it. And as I pour that almond milk in, I'm not a fancy barista. There's no steamed almond milk here, but it does make a very interesting pattern as you put the tea bag in and as you pour the milk in. Now, I'm probably doing it all wrong because I do these all together, but what I'm doing is a visual PQ rep where for that 10-second period, and I don't measure it, I don't count it, but I just pay attention for what feels like 10 seconds, and I look at it visually. I see the clouds, I see the little streaks that are formed in the water as the tea and the milk and the water all mix together. Lastly, I take a sip of that tea and I leave it in my mouth for longer than you normally would, and I just pay attention to what it tastes like. Now, this is the same beverage that I drink every day. Is my experience going to be different from one day to the next? Not necessarily, but what I can tell you is that while I have been doing all of these things, while I have been feeling the mug and listening to the water and smelling the tea and watching the milk mix in with the color of the water and tasting the tea, I have not been thinking about anything in my past, and I have not been thinking about anything in my future. I call these PQ reps because it is just like doing a rep at a gym. Just as you can do exercises for your biceps, just as you can lift those dumbbells, this is you practicing so that when you're in a situation where you really need the benefit of staying in the present, you have that practice to call upon. Okay, so that is how I use all 5 of my senses in a single morning routine. My question for you is, where in your morning routine could you focus a little bit more on the present? And maybe you don't want to do all 5, but maybe when you're brushing your teeth, what do you think about when you're brushing your teeth? I'm going to ask you that question. When you're doing it tomorrow, think about it. Are you paying attention to what the toothpaste smells like and what the toothbrush feels like in your mouth? Or are you already 3 steps ahead, planning everything you're going to do for the day or reviewing what already happened? All of this is an attempt to keep us right here in the present, where we have access to the most powerful version of our brain. So I hope that deep dive and me walking you through my morning routine is something that is helpful to you. And now you know what I think is the best tea: vanilla almond tea with almond milk. I am faithful to that, and anything that can get me out of my restless way, the Republic of Tea has done that successfully. And as you've heard, it's hard to break these tendencies. So I am right there with you for anybody, whether it is this one or any of the other 9 that we have been through. I completely relate. Have a great week, and I will be back tomorrow with a focus on the controller tendency. Anybody who hasn't taken the quiz yet, go up to my website, erikaparkerprice.com/PQ. The quiz takes only 5 minutes, and you will absolutely learn something about yourself. That's a wrap for this week on Land Your Next Job. If this episode helped, please leave a quick review and subscribe wherever you listen. Share it with a friend in transition, and I'll see you next Monday. Let's land your next job together.